So Leo sun, that fiery energy, is a fire sign shining bright. So that's so important for you to maintain your fire. And then with your Scorpio moon, it's the opposite of that. The Scorpio moon is like, it's the part of you that wants to be more introverted. And also too, the part of you that likes to go deep.
Yeah.
Like you ask, exactly, you ask such deep and thought-provoking questions. You're not like surface level, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, it's more like, like.
So what's your deepest, darkest secret?
Yeah, exactly, right? And even like you were saying when you met Debbie, right? Both of you just cracked open.
What's good, familia? It's your girl, Odalis Jasmine, and this is Hella Latino. We are in your studio, yes! Tiffany. So this is part two of a beautiful podcast that, I mean, now timelines aren't going to match, but it's being released next week, your episode. So we're going to learn all about your healthcare to self-care journey, and it's like one of my favorite stories. I was telling my friend Debbie on the way here all about it. I was like, so she starts with working with robots and like doing all these and then now she's doing wellness, and I just love your journey and I love your story. And now we have a studio.
Yes, this is officially the first podcast that we're hosting at our studio, Sueños. We are in Mid-City, so come check us out. Yeah, it's such an honor to have you, Mama.
Can you tell me about the journey of getting this studio?
Girl, woo. Yeah, this would be brand spanking new because no one's really heard this, like at least like publicly. Yeah. So this came to me in a dream a year and a half ago, at least a year and a half ago. And I'm not someone that dreams very vividly. I'm not someone who remembers their dreams. De vez en cuando I do remember something, but it's not very common. It's more like a deja vu moment. That's how my memory kicks in. Yeah. And I had this dream, and then in the middle of the night, I just woke up. And I was like, I have to write all this down. And in the dream was a space for community. Ooh, might cry. It's just like a space for a community. And it reminds me too of like my Nina's little like limpias and like todo esto baño que like that we grew up having. Yeah. And just like beautiful herbs and just like a space for people to connect, for people to feel like they belong. I feel like, especially as first gens, right? It's like, we're not American enough to be American, and then we're also not Latino enough to be Latina. And, you know, there's this push and pull. And so you really don't fit in either world. And especially like us, like leaving our family in New York, I've always felt that like, how do I stay true to like my roots and who I am? And that's definitely something that I feel like my now husband has helped me with like being more my Latina self. Cause I would wait till I went back to New York to do that. Yeah. I kept it on pause for like 6 months until I went
like sancocho, we'll wait.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my God. Yes. All the flavors from back home.
Oh, but you had this dream.
Yes.
What was the dream?
So the dream was just community coming together and us having like spiritual workshops, like around limpiezas, around like, you know, using the egg to clean your body, around like ancestral.
What a memory. You just like, yes, the egg.
Right?
Like you just roll it.
Remember that?
Oh my God.
So all these
things. That is the core memory.
Right? Of growing up that we like kind of forget about. Yeah. It all just came to life within that dream. It felt so vivid. I wrote like 2 pages of like, and we'll have this, and to have like Taino ceremonies and drum circles and like all of these like very like ancestral experiences to come back to our roots. And I know we kind of talked about that in like podcast 1 of like.
I was literally thinking that. I love your journey of coming back to self and coming back home. And sometimes we were talking about this in the first episode of how sometimes you have to leave the nest to appreciate it and then go back to it, and you're like, oh, I can bring all these experiences that I've learned, that first gen experience, and then go back and live in that duality and know that there's power in that duality, because sometimes it's what you said, it's not enough. And then we feel like no somos suficiente, like we're not enough in this space and that space, but really the power is in living in the in-between and being that duality, and you're doing it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have this.
Girl.
So a year later, how did this happen?
So at the beginning of this year, I was saying this prayer to myself. It's a very like popular prayer, but it says, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? And I kept saying that prayer in January. And it was very interesting because January, a lot of people are planning vision boards and, you know, setting their resolutions and their intentions. And I was like, I don't want to write that out. I want God to tell me, like, how can Period. I be in service, right?
Period, yes.
How can I be in service this year? Show me the way and I will follow. And with that prayer, every morning I pray before I get out of bed. And I kept saying that to myself for like the first 2 weeks of the year. And then the studio came through. And this exact space, I knew that the current owner was not going to continue her lease into the spring season. And prior to that, I had been trying to find like other friends that were studio owners, like, hey, this is a great location. Yeah. And none of it ever worked. It kind of fizzled out in December. Like it didn't line up with anyone. I was like, oh man, I really wanted to keep the space alive. But I kind of just like put it to rest, like, oh, you know, it is what it is. And then the studio came back to mind when I was saying this prayer, like all of a sudden it came through. And I was like, oh, that dream from a year and a half ago, this is it. And then I kept asking God to show me signs. And it happened to be like while my husband was away on a trip, I was catching up with Insecure.
Oh, yes.
Love that show.
Love it.
And as I was asking for a sign to like really assure myself that this was it, all the clips of Insecure that I was watching were studios or spaces within this area. Yeah.
Girl. Like this exact area.
Yes. There's a cycling studio really close to here. There was a diner that they had showed on the show. Yeah. All of these things. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like I'm getting like chills right now saying it. And then I asked God, I was like, what would you have me name it? Like, what would you have me name it? And then it came through in the middle of the night again, Sueños. And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole thing started from a dream. And this is us living our dream, right? This space is for all of us to live our dreams. And I was like, yeah, I'm like getting chills. I might cry again. But yeah, it was.
Que fluye. Wow.
It was so deep.
Sueños. It all came from a dream. And Absolutely. The beauty of that, to make it poetic, is that, like you said, we came here, our parents came here, our families came here with a dream. Yeah. And we're bringing it to life. I recently wrote a poem. My friend Debbie just heard it. But there's a part in there that I wrote where we're immigrant dreams, right? Like we are both a dream and the vision come to life. And that's what I think is the tie with Sueños, is that it all ties back to the American dream, the dream that people come here for.
Absolutely.
And you're putting your own little twist and wellness to it.
I love that you made that connection, because like it just hits so much deeper. Like,
girl, Sueños. And what do you envision the space to be? How can people be a part of it? What are you offering? All of it.
So this space, we consider it just with community and education at the epicenter. So conscious creators and spiritual entrepreneurs can utilize this space for their content creation, for their courses, for just their podcasts, like all of it, because all of this supports us in living our dreams and being autonomous in our lives, right? And kind of like not living within the systems, like restrictions of this is what a 9-to-5 looks like, or this is how you make a living, right? Like in this country, it's like, no, we can have this autonomy if we choose to. And so outside of having an experience for each of those, also having wellness, because what I've noticed with a lot of creators and entrepreneurs is that we're so focused on work and that being the part of our dream that we forget to pour into ourselves. And so you don't have to go across town to pour into yourself. You can literally go across the hall into our yoga space and have an experience there. Or yoga might not be your jam. Like we also have co-working, so you can connect with other creators with loneliness at like its all-time high right now, right? Like LA is such a big city and so many of us can feel very, very lonely in it.
So you're saying that people might actually have sueños. Like you might just sleep here at one point.
Yeah, right?
You're here creating. You're doing yoga. Just go to sleep. I want to go back to your story of how the studio came to life, because I'm like meditating on it, and it's all about surrendering. And that's what I'm like your prayers, the way that you just trusted things to unfold. And I think sometimes, like, at least for me, patience isn't my strong suit, right? Because I think I grew up in an environment where it was scarcity, like, ponete pilas, like, because then you might lose this. So, like, you have to get that opportunity, and you're always on the go. And to surrender is, like, the most spiritual practice you can do. Absolutely. And the fact that your whole story of opening up this space is all about surrendering, girl. And if you think about it, like going back to our families come here with a dream, there's a lot of surrender in that too. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of, I mean, no sé lo que me espera otro lado, but
sin hablar la idioma.
No cultura. Like they don't know the culture. No saben de lo que se están metiendo, but they knew there's something there.
Absolutely.
And there's a surrendering to that. So you channeling that and opening it. Ooh, girl. So one of the things that I am excited to do in this part 2 is show everyone how you do your astrology readings. And this is one of the many, 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 many things that you do. And I want to hold space first. Tell us like all the different services, we had time. So I'm like, tell them all the things that you do, because this is just one part of all the different wellness offerings that you have.
Absolutely. So having so many strong Gemini placements in my chart.
Shout out.
I am just a huge fan of the science and the spirituality of well-being. Like knowing that I've worked in healthcare for so many years and just been around clinical papers and surgeons and seen so many surgeries, cadavers, like all of these things, really in the depths of it. There are certain things that clinical papers cannot address.
Period.
Right? And then, simultaneously, I've been in wellness for 10 years. So I always, I've been teaching in yoga studios on the weekends. I was just my medicine for myself, and also too to keep my practice going. And with that, I was like, well, there's also like an energy, right? To like a teacher that walks into the room. You can feel something that tangibly you cannot describe.
You're like, must be a Taurus.
Yeah. It is like something's off or something's right. Like even us meeting. It just felt right. It clicked. And you can't write a clinical paper on that. That logically does not make sense in the tangible world. But there's an energy to it. And so just being in both worlds of wellness and working at the hospital, I realized like there's really like a synergy that exists between the two worlds. And because I'm someone that lives in both worlds, like how can I introduce, I know, right?
Yeah.
Like the two.
You love duality.
I love
First
duality.
gen Gemini.
Yes. I love me some duality. Science, spirituality.
First gen Gemini, episode 2. All the dualities.
Yes.
So it's funny because I feel like I meet people in the science realm and they're like disbelievers. They're like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But you always knew. Is it because of your roots? Like, how did you know, like, no, this is real? Yeah.
I feel like for sure, and we say this like within our culture too, right? Like when you get your hair done, it's like, esa tipa tiene mala energía, right? Like you already know, like we energetically, we say this within our culture. Yeah. We probably don't like harp on it all that much, but we know like, okay, so-and-so's not touching my hair. Like there's a thing to that. Yeah. And so like things like that.
There's a lot of intuition in our families.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Like the women.
Yeah.
They know.
Absolutely.
I always make a joke with my mom. I'm like, you really knew every friend that you didn't like? I used to think like, mommy, be nice. But I'm like, oh, you were right. Like she wasn't good. And I had to learn the hard way, but it's cool.
And you see, it's there, right? The intuition is there. And so now it's like, how do I bridge that and make that into like a thing? Like, how do I utilize that in my everyday life? And for me, I feel like that's where like astrology comes in, because like understanding my astrology has helped me be more myself. When I'm more myself, I can feel when things are aligned or misaligned. Yeah. But when we're like stressed and overwhelmed and anxiety and burnout, we're so disconnected from our body and our intuition and our gut feeling that like we can't pick up on those things.
Yeah.
But just like when I walked into this studio at least like 5 months ago for the first time, I got like these vibrations like just running up and down my body. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is that?
Yeah, like, this is it.
Yeah. And I just thought at the time, I was like, maybe it's just because I'm intended to create here and host workshops here. I never knew it was to own it. But then the more and more I kept coming here, and then as the clarity came with that prayer of surrender, really, I was like, oh, it all makes sense. It all feels right.
Wow. And it's you trusting yourself. Do you think astrology helped you trust yourself a lot more?
Yes. Because I feel like as a society, we always say like master of none, like that's a very common saying. And it's like, no, I'm a Gemini though. I love enjoying the different flavors of life. It makes me like have a very diverse skill set, and also keeps me curious. And it's like that curiosity vibrates higher than the skepticism.
Oh,
right?
Period. But I love this because I think that, well, maybe as women, I don't even know if it's in our culture, but maybe society overall, like we're told who to be, how to behave, how to be, when to get married, where to access our worth. And then we kind of listen to all these external expectations and realize that we're not listening to our inner compass at all.
Yeah.
We're not listening to what we actually are in alignment with. We're not even saying, not to get spiritual, but we're not seeing ourselves through God's eyes. We're seeing ourselves through everyone else's eyes. And so what I love about you saying astrology helped you trust yourself is because you're learning about yourself.
Absolutely.
Like that self-learning and like washing away all these expectations that are not even yours.
Yeah.
And then realizing, I'm vibrating higher in this curiosity. I will be a master of none, if that's what you want to call it.
Exactly.
But I'm living my life and I'm happy.
Exactly. It's like looking at like the perspective of like, is this life-giving or is it life-taking? If I'm that.
I wish I had a mic to drop. I won't drop this mic, but yes, girl.
Like that reframe has helped me so much. Not good or bad, right or wrong, but does this give me life? Maintaining curiosity gives me life. Oh. The scattered skepticism, the master of none, feels life-taking. So I'm not gonna choose to take on that perspective. I'm gonna choose to maintain my curiosity. And all of these, I was just messaging a homegirl. I was like, my random skill sets have finally paid off in owning a business, like a brick and mortar.
Yes, girl. Oh my gosh. So I am getting excited. Astrology is one of the many things you do. What else do you do in your practice?
Yeah.
I mean, all your many curiosity-filled things that you do.
Astrology is definitely like in the spirituality of well-being for me, because I focus on self-care and medical astrology. And these are areas, just given like my background in healthcare, like I love the human body and understanding it. And I also realize that like our well-being isn't a copy paste. Like what works for you isn't always going to work for me. I mean, we both have Virgo in our chart, so there is there is synergy there. But for the science of well-being, I actually work with a lot of different organizations to do sleep optimization workshops, stress release tools, meditation 101. Yeah.
Girl, especially now. Like the world needs all of that.
Absolutely, right? Because like statistically, 70% of Americans don't get enough sleep.
Girl, well, you're talking to someone who's really jet lagged right now. Girl, I'm like, I'm a 7 to 8 hours of sleep type of girl. So I'm like, but you got me full of energy, because I get my energy from people, which you're going to tell me if that's real or not.
Yes, absolutely.
Through my astrology. Okay, so you do the medical side. I know you're also dabbling into the ancestral side, and you're going to? Is that like a soon to be?
So definitely more soon to be for sure. So astrologically, my Chiron, which is like the wounded healer, is in Cancer, and Cancer is all about family. Cancer is all about like the home, and it's the reason why I'm like a mama bear, and also too like the initial vision for this space was very ancestral, with the limpias, with the drum circles, with the Taino ceremonies. All of that is very ancestral, and so I want to bring that into this space, because a lot of us as first gens, our parents really wanted to assimilate to this culture, to this country, the language, all of that. And now we're trying to bridge that gap of like, I want to understand my roots.
Yeah.
Right, bring it back.
Bring it back. I love.
Yes.
Should we dive into it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm like, this is so vulnerable, first of all, because I'm like, they're about to know my business.
Yeah.
They're about to know everything. But I'm excited because I do want people to know what it looks like. What does it look like to have an astrology reading? What does it look like if they were to book with you? Like, which you should. But, you know, like, what does that feel like, look like? Because I think there's so much skepticism around this space. So I'm excited to kind of like break all that stigma.
Yeah, me too, girl.
Show them something different. Okay, now I'm nervous. Okay.
So I want to start off with something super simple, like your sun, moon, and rising. Okay. We hear a lot about that in astrology. You know, oftentimes everyone's like, oh, your big three. What's your big three? The reason why we even call it big three is because these three aspects, the sun, moon, and rising, have a major impact in our lives. Like we see this show up in our everyday life. So starting off
more than the other planets?
That and like the inner planets. The sun, moon,
rising.
I'm
not studious. So you got to tell me to chill out. You're like, no. Wait. Just wait.
No, but like, no, it's true. Your inner planets. So like we think of like Mercury retrogrades or trying to think of something, even moon phases.
Is Mercury ever in grade? Is it always in retrograde?
Okay. No, it is. So it happens 3 times a year and it happens technically for like 4 to 5 weeks out of the year. Okay. So if you think about it, it happens enough that it gets mentioned so often.
Okay.
Because it always feels like it's happening.
Always in retrograde. Like, is it ever just chilling?
I know. Like, it's chilling right now.
Okay. Cool. So life is normal right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So my big three.
Yes. So with your big three, your sun sign being Leo, to keep it simple, like the sun, right? We design our lives around the sun. The clothing that we wear, the time that we eat at, the time we go to sleep. Our lives revolve around the sun. So whenever I'm working with somebody and they're like, oh, I don't really feel like myself. For me, I know they're not living in their sun. They're not living for you being Leo, your authenticity, your fiery expression, allowing yourself to take up space, allowing yourself to also be creative. A lot of people don't mention that about Leo, but Leo is very creative and they're super family oriented too.
Oh, yeah. All of that. Yes. yes. My +1.
Right. And even if you think of like Leo, the lion, right? The lion has like this big mane. It has a big, strong presence. And they're part of a tribe. They're not like Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
They like to be part of a community.
I'm glad you said that because I think that Leos get a bad rap because they're like, oh, they're so selfish, self-centered.
The low vibration.
Oh, there's high and low vibration.
Just like the curiosity and the skepticism, it's like, okay, where am I vibing at? Yeah. So the low vibration is like over the top, melodramatic, and doing all the theatrics to get the attention versus owning it like a lion, right? Like a lion is just regal.
Versus just being.
Exactly.
No, I think it's because it's so much of it is like Leos want to be the center of attention, but I'm like, I think at least the way that I see Leos in my life and the way I even like see myself is I like putting people in the spotlight with me. Like it's never never just me. I'm like, I want Tiffany here. I want Debbie here. I want like all the homegirls to be here.
Yeah.
So it's like, and family is like super important. It's like, how do I bring people together? And so I think of myself in that way, but it's validating to hear you say that because I'm like, Leos are not so centered. We just want everybody to be at the party.
Exactly. And you all remind us to shine our light. Like my brother's a Leo, Matrix is an Aries, my mom is an Aries. Like my husband, my mom, and my brother are all fire. I don't have a lot of fire in my chart, but I do tend to gravitate towards fiery people because they help me shine my light. They help me be more authentic. And, you know, there's something so attractive to that. We see this with musicians, right? When they're on stage, there's something so alluring to someone being raw, authentic, and their truest self. Because we all want to be that.
Love it. Validating. So Leo's sun, that fiery energy, it's a fire sign shining bright. So that's so important for you to maintain your fire. And then with your Scorpio moon, it's the opposite of that. The Scorpio moon
is like, it's the part of you that wants to be more introverted. And also, too, the part of you that likes to go deep.
Yeah.
Like you ask, exactly, you ask such deep and thought-provoking questions. You're not like surface level, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, it's more like, like.
So what's your deepest, darkest secret?
Yeah, exactly, right? And even like you were saying when you met Debbie, right? Both of you just cracked open.
Yeah, crying over cafecito, broad daylight.
Exactly, and so like
Debbie.
that scorpionic energy is meant for people to go to the depths. That's why some people are like, oh, Scorpios, you know, they really go there. Yeah. And some people are annoyed by that because some people want to just hang out in the surface.
Yeah. But I wish I did.
Yeah.
I'm always like, how's your mom? Like, what's your relationship with her? So for people who are like new to this, how do they understand the moon? Like, how does the moon work with the sun?
Yes. So the moon moves every single day. It moves a cycle every 2.5 days, right? So we have like the full moon, a half quarter moon, a crescent moon. Like it moves through those cycles every 2.5 days.
Right.
And so the moon lets us know how to nurture ourselves, how to love on ourselves every day. What's my self-care routine?
Of course I have to love myself deeply. That's giving Leo.
Exactly. Oh, wow. And that energy of Scorpio, of like that deep love, not just like a little like, okay, check the box. It's like, no, I want to, like I would say for you, a self-care practice would look like something longer, like something that's like a 30-40 minute type vibe of like allowing yourself to like really settle, meditation, sound.
Oh my, I do like a evening and morning routine. Like my face routine is my meditation.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole ordeal. Like I'm about to be in there for like 30-40 minutes. Like washing my face, listening to Sade. Like I will do a whole routine.
Yeah. And you see how it feels, like even you describing that, it feels very ceremonial. It's very intentional.
Yeah, with my tea.
Yeah.
Everything. I'm like, I have my ritual. And if I don't do it, I can feel myself discombobulated.
And you see, to another person, they'd be like, why would you do all that? Like, it wouldn't make sense to them. Yeah. But that's your Scorpio moon. You're honoring, like, going to the depths. You're not just like, okay, I'm going to wash my face. You're like, no, I'm going to make this a whole thing.
And it's really like a cleanse for me. It's so, and it's so funny because I have a brother, I won't call him out, but he's always like, it ain't that deep. But I'm like, it is. It's always deep. But for me, like washing my face is like it's a ceremony like of cleansing, like all the things from that day. Like I'm thinking about what happened at this hour and like wash it off. And when I'm not doing a face routine, I'm journaling, and that's like another way to like pour it out.
Yes.
I'm curious if this is like part of the moon thing, but I always say I don't overthink, I overfeel. Like I feel like it's like maybe I overthink, I just don't always have the words, but I overfeel a lot, and then I pour it into my art or pour it into my poetry or my writing. Is that part of that moon, or does that go into other planets?
It does. It is part of the moon because the moon also reflects like our childlike essence and like who we are to our depth. So regardless of what sign it's in, the moon always represents that too. And if you think about the moon is a very like motherly energy. That's why I say it's about nurturing ourselves. So absolutely, that's definitely a part of it.
Okay, so we got sun, we got moon, and then what's the other big three?
So the rising sign is the part of us that doesn't feel as comfortable. Like the Leo sun, shining bright, taking up space, the Scorpio moon of like wanting to go deep. Like these are all the things that come very naturally. You don't have to think about it. The Virgo rising, the rising sign is inviting all of us to step into like our growth era. And like uncomfortability, it's part of one of the three main pillars of living a life in deeper alignment. So it's meant to help us stretch and grow.
So I always thought it was the mask that you wear to the world.
A lot of people say that. And I think what they mean by it is that this is how other people see you.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily how you see yourself. Like, you know.
There is a differentiation there.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Like you probably identify more with like the qualities of your Leo sun and your Scorpio moon than you do with like the Virgo, like from an outside person's perspective.
Yeah, and it's so funny because people always think.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always get that make me laugh is you look like you have your shit together, and I'm like, that's cool. Like, but like if you only knew, there's a lot going on inside. But they think I'm like this really put together. I have everything kind of under control, and and I'm like, oh, it's so chaotic. Yeah, like, you don't even know.
And it's kind of like, you know, like when you're with a homegirl and you're like doing like one of those quizzes on Cosmopolitan. I'm thinking like forever ago when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And you like
those were the shit too,
right? They really were. They really were. Like, bring back the quizzes.
Bring back the quizzes. Yes.
And then you ask the people that you know, like, oh, do you see me as this, and that? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, I don't see myself as that. That's kind of what the rising is, because you have that in you, but it's acknowledging this part of you and living into it more fully.
Does it change over the years then? Like, do you become more of your rising or no?
So ultimately, as we get older, we're being invited to lean more into the rising sign. Okay. But it is something that, you know, when people don't, their Saturn return comes in like a pile of bricks and like shakes them up. And there's various other cycles that can happen where people really get rocked. And when that happens, it's just like life speaking to you. It's life waking you up and saying like, hey, you're not leaning into your life's purpose.
So these are the big three that show up every day, you said.
Yes.
What are the other planets that maybe show up day to day or that are important to know?
Yeah. So Mercury is one of them. Mercury is the planet of communication. So like I'll do this with teams where it's like understanding each other's communication style is really helpful, or even like with your friends or your like in your romantic relationships, all of these ways in which you're communicating. Because you know how they always say like communication is key in every relationship, and it's like, well, when you understand your Mercury, you understand your style more, and you can also understand the other person's style.
Yeah, because comprehension and understanding are a whole different thing.
Yes.
It's I could be speaking, but it's a whole different language to you.
So true. That's how you can use astrology in your everyday life. And Mars is another planet that's closer to Earth. Mars is how we take action. It's the things that motivate us to take action. And so it's the thing that like inspires you to like get things done, to get things moving. So understanding like, oh, this is my motivating factor helps you to see like, okay, this is what I need in a situation to like, to initiate.
One skepticism I hear a lot of astrology is, so are you all the planets? Are you all the signs? How do you make sense of that? How do you like help people understand that it's all different facets and they all work together? Yeah. And it may be a lot for them.
So I think I'd like to think of it as this perspective of the elements, right? We have fire, air, earth, and water. Some earthy qualities that show up in our lives are structure, routine, consistency, right? That's your Virgo rising. Likes that consistency, the self-care, even the intentionality of like, I'm not checking the box. I'm going to take my time with my routine. I'm going to make it really intentional. So those are all earthy qualities. Watery qualities are like the part of us that goes with the flow, that feels when things are right and when things feel off, right? It's the part of us that likes prayer, that likes meditation, that likes stillness. And so
that's the water one.
Water. Exactly. And so even just those two together, it's like, well, in everyone's life, we should all have some sort of consistency, some sort of structure. We should have just some routines that we've built. But also, too, you don't want to be so strict and so much structure that you can't feel when things are off because you're like, I have a schedule and it has to go this way. It's like, whoa, like pump the brakes.
Chill out.
Exactly. And so you pour, like I think of it just like even like a plant. If it just had soil and no water, right? The soil would crack up. There would be like these cracks in the foundation. And we fill up those cracks with the element of water. The part of us that feels, that tunes in, the part of us that can sense, this feels right, this feels off, or like the part of us that gets still enough to listen.
I love that description. It almost reminds me of like burnout when you're too like or like too scheduled,
too earthy,
consistency, too earthy. Yeah. It's just like you lead to burnout. You need some of that water.
Yes.
To really like aguas, like chill out.
It's true.
Aguas.
It's true. Aguas. And you see, we say all these things in our everyday life.
Yeah.
I want to go with the flow more. Oh yeah, let's just go with the flow. See what happens, right? That's what we said before we jumped on. We're like, we'll just go with the flow. See what happens.
Yeah. What about the other two?
So the other two is air and fire. So fire is the poder. Fire is the part of us that's like taking action, that's setting boundaries, that's being blunt and honest about things. We could all use that in our lives, right? Because sin eso.
But too much of that, too much of anything.
Exactly. And then the air is the mindset, the intellect. It's the part of us that loves communicating, because when we're talking to others, it gets us to have new ideas. It's so inspired. And again, like that curiosity and skepticism, like that comes from having clean air, having conversation. Porque si no, we have like the head in like a hamster wheel. It's like, it's just constantly going, and we're just like, I feel so overwhelmed. Yeah. What do we say? I need to get some air.
Mira, you're making this all like human. Like I feel like people think of it as like, oh, it's woo woo or it's algo, you know. Yeah. And one thing I also love about our conversation, I don't know if we had it on the pod. We've had so many conversations, but one of the things you said is religion and spirituality do not have, and like astrology do not have to be like separate, mutually exclusive. Like they're all working together because it can all coincide. It all coincides.
It does. Like I came across this reel, so I can't take credit for it, but I saw this reel that was talking about the three kings. What was their navigation? The stars. So why would God not want us to know more about our birth time and our own stars, so that we can be guided in the same way of living a life in deeper alignment?
Period. So when you're doing these astrology readings, you explain all these like elements, and do you explain like, oh, you have a lot of earth, or you have a lot of fire, and like, are those things that you talk about?
Absolutely. And I like to keep it that way, because sometimes the astrology could get so heady that it's hard to comprehend. And I specifically have studied applied astrology. So it's like, how do I apply this in my everyday life? And using the elements, like we see the element of earth. Yeah. We know the element of water, right? When the water, like you feel water, when you're in water, you feel it. You can't help but feel it. The element of fire, you can sense the heat. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And the element of air, like when we're talking, we're breathing air out, right? We're taking a breath. So these make it more tangible and help us know, like, okay, like my astrology teacher told me, she's like, you mastered the element of earth. Now it's time for you to play with the water. And so the past 2.5 years, I was like, you know, she's an elder and someone that's so wise. I was like, if she said that, like, I'm with it. Like, and then things like this come into fruition, where logically it probably doesn't make sense, but energetically it feels right.
I love that. Would you say that this studio space, was that like an earthy decision? Was that a water? Was that because it was surrender too? So I'm like thinking about, do all the elements play a role?
No, that's so funny. I for sure feel like this was me stepping into my water, stepping into the unknown, because when we're on earth, like in the literal sense, right, you could see everything. Yeah. But when you go in water, you don't know if there's animals underneath there. There's this sense of uncertainty. Yeah. So I really feel like this was me stepping into my water, and even sueños, right? That's like a very like dreams are such a watery thing. You can't hold them, you can't touch them. Yeah. It's a feeling. So this is definitely my woo-woo era.
Woo-woo era. So looking at my chart with my big three, what would you say is something that I can apply day to day?
Yes. So I would say for sure, like the meditation, the stillness, prayer, having spiritual practices. Yeah. And then to bring it in with your rising, consistent, because your Virgo rising likes the consistency of that.
Yeah, that's true. The consistency part is real.
Yes.
And how, so I have all three elements. I don't have one of like I don't have hella earth or hella fire.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for me? But I don't have any air in my big three.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does this all mean?
But your midheaven has air. So your life's purpose is aligned with the air, and this is part of your life's purpose, to communicate, to be in community.
Crying. Yeah, well, I do feel that it's funny because I always looked at my chart, and I've always looked at my big three, or just even like my other elements, and I'm always like, damn, I don't have any air. I don't have no chill.
Yeah.
But when you told me that I had like a midheaven in midheaven.
Yes, in Libra.
Is it Libra?
Yeah.
Or is it Gemini?
Oh, it might be Gemini. Yeah.
I know it's in Gemini.
Yeah,
it's in an air sign.
Yes.
But I think it was Gemini. And I remember reading about it.
Yes, it is. I'm bad. It is.
No, but I remember reading it and it said you would make a great podcast host or poet. And I was like, yes. And you don't just have a 9 to 5. You have like all these side gigs. I'm like, yes, all that.
Yes.
But it's like you said, so validating, because I think going back to being first gen, you're always trying to create this life of like, not scarcity, like abundance, right? And abundance, we were just talking about it, you don't know what you don't know as first gen. And so I feel like what you hear when you're younger is, well, be una doctora, lawyer, look at these American jobs, like they have it together, they're rich, they have a house, so do that. And I tried to follow that path. I tried to follow that narrow, like you said, like you're not living with your life's purpose, but I tried to follow this narrow path, and it always felt like I was stuck. Like every single time I stepped into a corporate space, I'm like, it just, my body tenses up. Like I don't feel like I energetically belong here.
Yes.
And I always felt like I was defying that space, but had to tell myself like, no, be in this space because this is how you're successful.
Yeah.
And then building this life of like, bueno, I don't have to do it this way. Oh, I can have a 9 to 5 and a little side thing. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. It's like there's a playfulness to it that I can appreciate. But I used to recoil in shame anytime anyone asked me, like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do a lot of different things. And like, but feeling like that wasn't the quote unquote success.
No, you're right. And so your Virgo rising is mutable, and your Gemini midheaven is also mutable. So us as mutable signs, we like variety. We like changing things up. It's why I worked in the operating room for 14 years. I never did the same thing every day. Like every day was a different case, different patient. There was so much variability that it kept me engaged for over a decade. And now I was like, all right, now I'm going to like change this up, you know, like we need that as people who have a lot of mutable, like prominent placements of mutable signs.
So I want the people to know, when you do these astrology readings, you help them apply it in what different ways? Yeah.
So I like to apply it mostly for self-care, because the self-care helps you trust yourself. So regardless of what's happening astrologically, you can tune in and feel into what is in alignment. Yeah. Because, you know, some people are into like predictive astrology, or like, okay, this is going to happen on this date, and then this is going to happen, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, I think it's helpful to have like a flavor of like, okay, you know, like, okay, I'm going to dress for that. Yeah. That part I understand, but to have that dictate how you live your life of like, oh, I'm not going to make any big decisions today, and oh, all of these things I'm going to put off and pause my life because Mercury's in retrograde for 3 weeks. It's like, that's wild. Yeah. It's just retrograde. Like I always give the example, retrograde. If you were walking, retro means to go backward. Yeah. So if you were walking backward, you'd have to take one step at a time. You can't run backward. There's no way. Right. You'd run into something. You'd hurt yourself. Right. So any planet in a retrograde is an opportunity for us to slow down and take things step by step. And ultimately, when we're tuning into our intuition, that's what it invites us to do. Some things feel like, this is in flow. Other things, I'm gonna sleep on it. Let me sit with it, and I'll think about it for a day or two, and then I'll get back to you.
It's all about tapping back in with yourself. Yes. You have this, and I have to give you your flowers. You have this beautiful, from the first episode to this one, you have this beautiful grounding about you that's always about coming back to self. Yeah. Whether it's coming back to culture, coming back to like your roots, your family. it's all about coming back to self and not listening to these external expectations of how you should live your life, how you should see yourself, but how do you see yourself? And I just have to give you your flowers for that, because I think more women, more Latinas, more Black and brown women need that, right?
Yeah.
Need to like go back to that life's purpose and back to self, because the world will try to steer you astray, right? And like tell you how you should live your life. But I have to give you your flowers for that. You reminding us all that we have to do it. I love this.
You,
and I can sit here all day talking to you about it. I want the people to know how to book time with you and how they can make it happen for themselves, because I think that it's amazing that you not only apply it to career, to self, but you also help, you said, relationships, how you communicate, even in the workplace, like how you could do it for companies and teams. And like, there's so many ways to apply astrology. It's like Strengths Finder, but like deeper.
Exactly.
And more fun.
Way more fun. At least for me, it's way more fun.
Way more fun. But how can people connect with you?
Yeah.
And like make it happen?
Absolutely. So my Instagram has all of like my link in bio has my workplace wellness offerings. You can schedule a reading there. And I feel like, you know, if you're more into the spirituality of things, like my whole Instagram is all the science of well-being. It's all the spirituality of well-being. I love me some astrology. But if you're someone who's more into like just a more practical approach to things, like check out my YouTube. I have sound bath meditations on there. Some of them are guided. I like to meet people where they're at and really make things accessible, because I realized like the first yoga studio that I walked into, they played R&B, they played music that I was used to listening to in New York, and I felt so welcome there. And if I didn't feel welcome there 10 years ago, I don't know where my life would have been, because yoga's just shifted my life so much. Because of yoga, I got into sound. Because of sound and the new moon and the full moon circles, that made me get into astrology. So like, I feel like accessibility is so important, especially to our community. So just meet yourself where you're at. And I've probably created a flavor, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube. And now we have this amazing space to cultivate community more so in person. So
I love this. And I love that you all saw it. I mean, like, I'm very much the talk. I have so many questions, or I have to add more context, and you allowed that to just flow and happen. And like, I love that. Because sometimes people have their own ways of doing things, and it's very like, esa es la manera. My Capricorn mom. But like, but you were like, you know, we're going to have it open. Tell me your big three, and then we can talk about it. I also want to talk about Amigas and Wellness and the things that you're doing, the communities that you're building. Like how I meet so many women that are just trying to find community. And we were talking about it earlier too. Like, it's hard to make friends. It's hard to make friends in LA. It's hard to make friends, period, especially as an adult. How have you cultivated some of these communities so that people can connect on a common interest?
Absolutely. You literally asked the best questions. Like, I love you so much. Like, the soul connection is so real.
You know, words of affirmation. Speaking of all the things, love languages, words of affirmation is like my number one.
Yes.
So, talk nice to me.
It's Leo.
It's the Leo.
Yeah, no, I love it though, because it's passion. Right? It's expressing passion.
It's quality time and words of affirmation, which is literally what we're doing right now.
Yes.
All the love languages. So tell me about these communities that you're building and cultivating.
So for sure, community is like my love language. Speaking of love languages, like, and a big part of that is, you know, in being in these spaces, I feel like a lot of times, you know, I've been teaching yoga for some time. I'm usually the token one that's there. And you know, like there's ups to that of like, I'm making a change and I'm creating a ripple effect. And then there's like this sense of like, not feeling like you belong either. Like people don't get me, or sometimes when I get really excited, and now I just share this in my classes. I'm like, if I get really excited, I might speak in Spanish. Give me a second and I'll bring it back to English. But like, just know that happens.
Just let me do it.
Yeah. I'm like, this is me and my flow.
Right.
So these Amigas in Wellness, they are monthly experiences for all women to come together. We are specifically as Latina facilitators, we are speaking to our audiences. Yeah. And we're also inclusive to all, because again, we all want to be in community and have this sense of belonging. Yeah. And so these are experiences that are really intimate. We're keeping them about like 10, 15 people max. So that's something else that makes things accessible, because sometimes when it's a group of 50 people, that can feel overwhelming. But it's like, and it's so fun because as soon as people come in, like we'll have like un té or cacao. And it's, you know, like when you go into a Latino household, oh, quiere algo de para tomar, quiere algo de comer. Yeah. So as soon as people come in, they're welcomed with that. And, you know, if someone's new, like we just had this gal, her name was Daria. And she was like, oh, I was like, tell me about yourself. She's like, oh, I just found this on Eventbrite. It's my very first event. She came by herself. And she was telling me about the work that she does. She's a physical therapist for women's pelvic health. And so she works with a lot of like mamas pre and post. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, you would be great friends with otra amiga mía que está aquí. And right away I introduced them. So it's like making the introduction. So it's a lot easier to make friends. Yes. And her and Mayra, they did the sound bath together. They were like having té together. Like they spent the rest of the event together the whole time. And that's what we're doing. We're fostering community in these spaces, and we're loving on ourselves. I feel like as Latinas, a lot of times we're so used to taking care of other people and putting them first. Yeah. And this is a space for us to prioritize our own well-being.
Always coming back to self.
Yes, girl.
It's the trend, and I love it because we need more of it. Yes. And I just love that you're cultivating these spaces for all women, because what better facilitators than Latinas, who are the ones that are like, ¿qué quieres de comer? ¿Qué quieres de tomar? Like, how can I take care of you and make you feel loved and nurtured and welcomed? And like, you're using all the parts of our culture that are so sacred and that is so special. You know, we talk a lot about generational trauma and like cultural trauma, but I'm like, there's so much goodness at the same time. Yes. Speaking of duality, like there is so much goodness, there's so much abundance, and there's so much that we're taught that is so innate to us. And it's a superpower.
Truly.
And we use it in all these different facets, like you're doing, like con té, con cacao, like ¿qué quieres? Or even keeping it intimate is so beautiful too. Like there is an intimacy there with like, it reminds me of family. Right? Like keeping it como familia.
It's true.
Girl, all the things. I hope that everyone follows you, connects with you, books time with you, and visits the studio at one point, because the studio is literally breathtaking. What are some last words or a last prayer or prayer that we can all do? What do you want to leave us with?
I may have said this in the last one, but it's just something that has really stuck with me. And it's what you're not changing, you're choosing. And just this reminder that life is always inviting us to stretch, to grow, to change, and to just invite like a fresh perspective and living in alignment. So, you know, if life doesn't feel good for you right now in this season, like change it. Like you have choice. And sometimes we feel like we don't, right? We feel like coming like from immigrant families, sometimes we could take that on so deeply. And so just open ourselves to changing it. Or if it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't hung out with my homegirls in such a long time, like change that. Listen to some words that really inspire you on YouTube. Listen to this podcast, right? Like all of this like helps to change and shift your way of experiencing life. Yeah.
Mic drop. Amiga, this has been the most beautiful, enlightening, spiritual, warm experiries. And being in your studio on top of all of that, it's truly, you're a gift. And this is a gift. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yes. So welcome. Love you, boo.
Y'all, escúchenme. If you vibing with this content, if you vibing with me, with my guests, with these episodes, let me know. Let me know on the reviews. Hit me on the side. Let me know what you're waiting for, what's been salient to you, etc. Follow Hello Latino Podcast for more. And on LinkedIn, those are the 2 channels where I got all the information. Or check out my website, odalisjasmine.com, for more information. And I'm going to see y'all next week for the next Cafecito en Chisme. Con muchísimo amor, tu amiga hondureña. Abrazos.